Hey peeps, can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect, perfect. Let's see who comes in, who doesn't. I may have to, if I seem distracted, it's because I have this dog, monkey that we're fostering. She usually takes trazodone, which is like the fucking dog anxiety medication. Um, but I'm trying to see how she behaves without one. So we didn't give her one last night, and we didn't give, and she seemed fine. We didn't give her one again today. But if she starts cracking out, I may have to jump out real quick. Uh, but anyways, uh, welcome everyone. Welcome to the last bottle of the "Do You Even Go Here" box. We are tasting this guy. It's a cute little label. I think that's a fox. Is that a dog? I don't know. I think it's a fox. 2021 is a lot of French words. Les raisins suspendus, Embruns de Cimes. It means hanging grapes, les raisins suspendus. Embruns de Cimes means mountain mist. So very kind of romantic sounding French wine with a cute label. So that's what we're tasting. A few announcements. I still have a few people still hitting me up, letting me know that they're interested in getting in Box. Box registration is still open until I tell you that it's closed. It remains open. So if anyone is interested still or sitting on the fence or have someone that you want to gift it to or think you may be interested, let me know. Box registration is still wide open. Yeah, so that keeps going. So let me know. Pickup is next Tuesday, the first Tuesday of each month, which falls on January 2nd. So it's the day after New Year's Day. Just wanted to put that on everybody's radar. So just know that it is happening on Tuesday, January 2nd, just like all the other months is always the first Tuesday of each month. And in case you haven't heard, the next month's theme is Austria. So we're going to a Germany's neighbor, Austria. Really cool wines from there. Pretty excited. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Tomorrow you will get an email from me. It's the end of the year, which means it is time for Hits from the Past. So I'm gonna tally up all the wines that I've sold in 2023, or all the wines that have been featured, whether on Case Club or regular monthly in 2023, and I will send you a list of all those wines, and whatever any one of those wines that you want to be re-featured so you can load up, refill, let me know, and then I'll offer that up on the Case Club next month, which opens up on Thursday next week. So I'll send it out tomorrow. And you let me know what you want to see again, and then we'll go from there. And then, we also tally up all the results. I'll announce which were the top three top sellers or the hits, most popular wines of 2023. It's always a fun kind of tally to look at. So yeah, that's all coming your way tomorrow. So keep your eye out for that if you're interested. Last but not least, this is the last week of this month, which means here's the last chance to donate alongside 6 Foot Wine Club. We're donating to Eco City Farms. Donation link is right there in the chat box. If you want to donate alongside 6 Foot Wine Club, it's right there. If not, that's totally cool too. And if you just want to find out what kind of work they do, check it out. It's a pretty cool urban farm operations they got going on there. So check it out. Any questions about anything that I just mentioned? Oh yeah, and the Box most likely will distribute that either at the end of January or at the beginning of January, beginning of February, along with the February monthly, and we'll get started on in February. So that's just kind of the timeline that I'm looking at right now. Any questions about anything? About logistics and whatnot before we get into the wine? Cool. For those of you who just joined us, this is the last bottle in the box. Just tasting this guy. 2021 Les Raisins Suspendus, Embruns de Cimes. I'm sure my pronunciation is fucking butchered, but you can live with that. Hanging Grapes, Mountain Mist. is the name of this grape. All right, so where are we? So map. All right, here we go. Map of France. So, should look pretty familiar. So the first week we're in Languedoc-Roussillon, right? In Cremant Limoux with that sparkling, and then we went further south, right up against the Spanish border. We were in Côte Catalan with the domain Majas. And then we moved up last week to Auvergne, which is smack in the dab center. It's like part Beaujolais, part Loire, part Rhone. Who knows? Nobody really claims it. It's really the unpopular kind of the region, really fitting for do you even go here theme of this month. And finally, to wrap it all up, we're going to go even more east. We're right around here. So if you look more closely, this doesn't show, this map is a wine map, French wine map of all the appellations. The area that we're in is called Alpes, H-A-U-T-E-S, and Alps, like Alpine, A-L-P-S. It's an IGP, it's not an AOP. So AOP is that, the appellation, these are all different appellations, right? Bordeaux, Rhone, Provence. Even within that, there's sub-appellations that breaks it down even further. But IGP is basically a level kind of below. So it basically yield control is bigger, less restrictions, more room for different things that you can do. It's less restrictive. So there are things called IGP. And like Côte Catalan, from the second week, that's an IGP, that's not an AOP. So this week, where we are, the Hoop Alp is also IGP that exists right here, right along the Durance River, right against the Italian border, up against Turin or Torino, following this Durance River, coming down all through these Alps. Right here is where we are, Haute Alp. As you can imagine, there's the really alpine influence that all comes down from here, right? As you can see, these are all kind of like very mountains. I mean, these are all mountains, ridges that are on the map. So it's right in the middle of the Alpine range. A lot of that kind of cold, cool Alpine air coming from Savoie, very continental region. We've been to Savoie, right? Coming down from the north. But given its proximity to, I mean, look at how close Provence is and Nice is. Given its proximity to a Mediterranean Ocean, there's quite a bit of a Mediterranean influence that comes in. So a lot of that kind of Alpine Mediterranean influence gets moderated by this Alpine influence. What does that mean? So Mediterranean mean, warm to hot, dry summer, mild winter, with all the rainy seasons often taking place in the wintertime. And that's kind of how it happens here, but except because of the altitude here and the cold air that comes down, the nights are much cooler than what you would find down here. The vineyards are planted usually anywhere between 600 to 1,000 meter, which is pretty damn high. So we're talking about very alpine, very mountainous wines. As higher you go, the stronger the UV ray becomes. So autumn here is quite warm and dry, with a long kind of ripening and growing season, which helps with the ripening of the grapes. But because that cool air, the altitude keeps all the acidity really light. So the wine style wise, what you end up finding, just like a lot of mountain wines, is that you get really light, fresh, aromatic. So light and fresh comes from the cool climate. Aromatic comes from no struggle with ripening because of all the UV ray exposure and moderation from the Mediterranean Ocean. And then really acid-driven, low alcohol, again, cool climate weather. So we're talking about mountainous wines, but except that doesn't struggle just ripen at all. So pretty unique area. Like if you go up to Savoie, if you go up to Jura, like the ripening tends to be an issue here. It's a challenge because it just gets so fucking cold, right? But as you come more south, because of that moderation by the Mediterranean Ocean and higher altitude, all the UV ray exposure, the fruits really ripen better. So you're talking about places that really you can get this kind of best of the both worlds. You get this kind of really straight, rigid, acid, minerally backbone of the wine without compromise to any of the fruit, flavor, sugar, any of the ripening development, which comes with concentration and complexity. So really fun area. But again, nobody really pays attention here because, you know, nobody does. It's a very mountainous area. So the kind of mechanization is impossible, which makes it really hard for a kind of big wine industry to settle in this area. So just look at the report. The report that I was reading earlier today. There are about 10 producers, and this was taken in 2018, so about 5 years ago. There are only about 10 producers in Haute Alps, entire IGP, scattered amongst 150 hectares of vines of production. So we're talking about an average of 15 hectares per producer. Very small, very kind of artisanal, farmer-driven kind of wines is what's being made here, which is super cool. And a lot of young people, a lot of young natural wine producers are going in that direction. Oh, and because of that kind of Mediterranean influence, dry weather, cool breeze, and all of that, there's really not that much risk for pests and mildew and fungus and all of that. So it's really a hotbed for organic farming, which follows a lot of natural minimal intervention, minimal interventionist winemaking style. So you're talking about an area that is probably, as the global warming becomes worse and everywhere else in France starts to get really hot, like Rhone Valley is getting really hot. Provence is probably not going to last very much longer. This kind of area where it goes up really high up in altitude, it still has a great UV exposure for ripening, is going to become more and more significant player. And I think this area is a place that you should we all as wine consumers should probably look out for. It's probably continue to get better and better as time goes. Let's see. This area, actually, the viticulture here has been here for a long time. So just like almost anywhere else in Western Europe, but particularly in France. So it was the Romans who brought the viticulture here. So back in the Roman times, there's a history of viticulture being here. And then it was quite robust back then. There were about 7,000 hectares of vines well cultivated on these mountainous slopes back in Roman times, compared to in 2018, 150 hectares, just to show how much it has lost its significance. And a lot of that was because of the phylloxera. So phylloxera happened, wiped all the vines out, and it just never really regained its former glory, so to speak. And it wasn't really until about 1950s that there's a local family here. You might have heard this name, but Louis Allemande is the name of the producer. He's a quite well-known producer from this region. He and his family really started working the land again. And then that's who brought forward the wines from here. There's the indigenous variety here called Mollard. There's a lot of indigenous varieties here that I've never even heard of. But Mollard I've heard of in the past, and that's all because of the work of Domaine Allemande. And they were actually able to get it into the French official government catalog of grape varieties, included in there since 2005. That's how much they were able to cultivate and bring the significance of this area back to its former glory. Yeah. So who makes this wine? I mean, here's the land of that. Let's see. Why can I? These two. Young couple, like I mentioned, this is kind of a hotbed for young natural winemakers. There's a husband and a wife team. Their name is Angela, which is the lady on the left. Maxime was the dude on the right. Aerts, A-E-R-T-S, or Aert. I guess the T-S is not pronounced in French probably, but Angela and Maxime, these two are the ones who are running this property, Les sont Suspendus, young husband and wife duo. They didn't really get into winemaking early. It's not like they grew up in wines and whatnot, but they were always interested in agriculture and particularly just working internships and working harvests in different wineries, and that was their interest. So years after they graduated from university, they were working these fields and doing internships and harvest internships all around France. They actually came over to Canada at one point. They lived in Yukon, Canada. Also made some wine or worked some harvest in US as well, apparently. And then they all decided to go back to France and actually study winemaking and agriculture. So after various internships, like I mentioned, they came across a small little plot of land, about 3 hectares, which is nothing, of beautiful old vines in Gard region, which is south of Rhone. It's another IGP region in southern Rhone. And they decided to settle there in 2018 and created a winery called Terre du Google. I don't even know how to pronounce this in French. Gaugalin, Gaugalin. I'm sure I'm fucking that up, but they immediately started farming organically. Once they discovered minimal intervention natural winemaking, obviously they didn't look back, and that's the only way they've been making wine since then. But really, and you may be wondering, why am I talking about Southern Rhone? This wine is from this area, south of Savoie. But this all started in 2020. Their story actually takes a dramatic turn in 2020 when they decided to leave Southern Rhone, which is kind of a hot, kind of flat, a lot more Mediterranean region, for this really cool, high altitude mountain region in the Alps. They're just mountain lovers, so they found the climate and geology of this place, which is all full of limestone. Same kind of that limestone structure that runs through Burgundy, Jura, Savoie, runs all the way down into this area. So all that climate and geology, they find it better suited, not only for their own kind of personal style or preference, but also the type of wine that they like to drink as well as to make, which is, like I mentioned, very kind of light, fresh, that mountainous alpine wines. So they landed here in 2020, and then they took over a old abandoned vineyard. There's a lot of these vineyards, and this is part of why areas like this really make it exciting, or I find it really exciting, is that they come across these old abandoned vineyards with like 80 to 100-year-old vines, like super old vines that just have not been tended to for years. And then these young people are coming on, revitalizing them and making wines from these super old vines, which is really hard to come by. And that's how this Les Raisins Suspendus was born. And they live there now, they make wine there now, and they all at the same time, they still manage their vineyard in Gard in southern Rhone. And apparently the harvest time is about a month apart. Like I mentioned, this is much cooler, so they harvest a month after they harvest in southern Rhone. So they actually manage it. They go there, bring all the grapes back to their cellar in Haute Alps, and then ferment it there. And so all the wines are made here in Haute Alps, but they manage 2 different vineyards, one in Gard in southern Rhone and one in Haute Alps, south of Savoie. So I had some pictures I wanted to show you besides their pictures. Just to give you an idea of what kind of operation this is. This is not some sort of like a factory making. We're talking about somebody's little garage, if you want to call this. I mean, this is like a very, very small operations. In fact, there are only 50 cases, and that's not a typo, actually 50 cases of this wine that we're drinking tonight imported to the entire US. So we're talking about a very, very small production wine. And this is where they make it. This is their actual vineyard. These really old vines that run it. Like I mentioned, mechanization is literally impossible because all these mountainous regions. So they work with this one horse. It's about the only closest thing to a machine that they have. But yeah, I mean, look at how beautiful this is. Snow-capped mountain in the back. They're working the field with their horse, you know, and they say wine is not romantic, you know. Yeah, so there's that. So what is this wine? This is super cool stuff. This is the kind of stuff that really gets me psyched and geeked these days. For probably traditionalists, even though what this wine is the probably even more traditional as what people think is traditional, but the traditionalists and purists think that these are kind of like pasteurization, but they're not serious wines. But I don't know. I get real excited. So this is, I'm going to give you a bunch of terms. And for those of you who've been around for a while, you may pick up what all these things mean. This is a semi-carbonic co-fermentation of 32 different very old indigenous varieties. We're talking about 70 to 100 years old, grown on limestone on a very high altitude, 800 to 1,000 meters in altitude. So what does that mean? Semi-carbonic co-fermentation. It's essentially a field blend. So what is a field blend, first of all? Field blend is the way we as humans used to make wine for the longest time. This idea of making a varietal wine, right? Like 100% Cabernet Sauv, 100% Chardonnay, 100% Pinot Noir, 100% whatever, is a very, very recent idea. For the longest time, how humans made wines were always blends. Even the idea of blending it in a very proportional, lab-tested, taste-tested way is a very recent development in the winemaking world. Initially, how we humans have consumed wines were pretty much field blends. We grew grapes, some indigenous, some planted. You don't know, some white, some red. Exact proportion of which varies widely each year to year, depending on which actual vine did well, right? Yielded more. And then you just throw it all in one basket and ferment the whole thing. And that was the wine you got from that man. And one may argue, and I may argue with that as well, is that one may argue that may actually be this concept of terroir that we talk about, right? The sense of place, the taste of the land. Is probably the best way to taste the land, as opposed to picking one grape to plant it over there and tasting only through that lens. I would say is much more limited perspective of that place rather than everything that's grown there and co-fermenting it. And that changes each year to year because the blending percentage is going to be different and all of that. So this is basically what that is. There's 32 different varieties, some white, some red. So is this red? I don't know. Is this white? I don't know. Is this rosé? I don't know. You tell me, but it's wine. And basically that's what this is. Semi-carbonic, what does that mean? For all you Bosch people, you know what this means. So instead of full carbonic, semi-carbonic, which means you throw it a whole bunch without destemming the berries off the stems, you kind of gently lay them up and then you cap it. And then it goes through a intracellular enzymatic fermentation, which means it just is a fancy way of saying basically the grapes start fermenting from the inside out as opposed to outside in, which is what happens when you crush the berries and you let the sugar and yeast do their thing from the outside. But from the inside, the sugar hasn't come in contact with the yeast yet because the yeast is on the skins of the grapes. So if you don't puncture the skin, there's no way for yeast to get in there. So it's the enzyme from the inside that starts fermenting the grapes. The CO2 pressure builds, it pops, then the yeast kicks in, and then it kicks it into overdrive, and then the fermentation begins. That's essentially what semi-carbonic is, and it produces this kind of really bright, less phenolic, less tannin, less color. It's all about the purity of the fruit. It's kind of the reason why wine producers would use this method is to really express the purity of the fruit and really preserve the kind of aromatics and the expressiveness of the variety. So this is a semi-carbonic co-fermentation of 32 different very old indigenous varieties and a very high altitude. That old abandoned vineyard that they took over. There were all these different varieties that were grown there. And then they just kind of took it over, and they're still in the works of figuring out, identifying exactly what each one of those varieties is in that place. And then to name a few of these varieties, we're talking about Mollard that I was telling you about earlier, Grand Noir de la Calmette, Barbaroux, Grec Rosé, Alicante, Persan, Mondeuse Blanche. So yeah, some of these, I mean, like I mentioned, I don't even know these varieties. I've never even heard of some of these varieties. And then these are basically the indigenous varieties that have been grown here since the Roman times. So That's basically what this is. I could not get an answer whether this was made in a cement tank. I don't think they have a cement tank in there. So my guess would be probably either stainless steel. I do know that they have like an amphora, not buried in the ground, but like a standing kind of a clay vessel. So maybe that. I sent them an email, but they didn't respond back. But so it's probably a semi-carbonic in stainless steel. It doesn't taste like stainless steel to me, but yeah, maybe it's an open top stainless steel afterwards. I don't know. But it goes through about 6 day, no, 9 day maceration. By the way. Cool. Any questions about any of this before we get into the tasting? Excellent. All right. Oh, I also forgot to mention, this is the last live tasting of 2023. Next one will be in 2024. So here we are. Who wants to kick off the last tasting with the appearance?
I'll take the appearance.
All right.
I think it's pretty clear. I would say like a little bit of a little tricky to see through, but mostly clear.
Yeah, I mean, I was still clear. You can, again, these are the things I like to mention, but you can tell this is not like a filtered fine wine. Like it's not bright, it's not super translucent, but still clear.
I'd say pretty medium.
Yep,
I
agree.
can't totally see through it. So yeah. Color a little purpley,
Yeah, there's something.
but there's some purple.
I mean, I would still call this ruby, but yeah, there's something is different color. I can't tell. Like maybe to me, it's almost like a burnt orange kind of a thing. But yeah, there's some sort of color in here for sure.
I like that. I like burnt orange.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's it for me.
All right. You get to nominate the next person for the notes.
Oh. Let's see. Sherice, you want to do the nose?
Weeks in a row. Did you do the nose last week too?
I did do the nose last week.
Oh no.
Do you wanna give nose to someone else and you do the palate?
That's fine. Whoever wants to do the nose can do the nose. I'll do the palate. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Well, Sherice, you get to nominate the person for the nose, and then we'll go to
Liz,
palate.
you want to do? Liz, do you have the wines? You want to do the nose?
I'm happy to do it. Although I may, sorry, I have you guys on a chair. I might need to refill, but I think I can make it through.
Got
At least tasting. Okay, so it's clean to me.
This one is clean. This one is sour.
I'd say it's probably medium, like light to medium intensity.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to come in there, but again, it's not super full, so maybe that's the issue.
I don't know. Mine's spitting way out of that. Like
You're getting it from far off?
I'm getting it here.
Okay, so medium.
Yeah.
You're saying it's medium plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the medium plus. Is your wine cold?
Yeah, it's sort of cold. It just got off the airplane. I don't know.
Maybe that. Yeah.
How long have your wines been open?
My wine?
Yeah, mine is now at 40 minutes.
I just opened mine, like literally so half an hour. That's a tasting was starting. So, but yeah, mine's here. So I'm gonna call it a medium plus. Temperature may have something to do with it. So this sounds weird, and I don't know the scientific reason for this. But anytime wine travels, whether it be by the ship or by the plane, they go through this thing called dumb period, where this wine is just dumb. Like it just takes some time for it to pull itself together.
Right. I wish I could use that for myself.
I don't know what happens, but we talk about all the time. Right after container lands here, we taste it. I'm like, dude, what is happening here? Like, there's nothing coming out of this wine. We come back a month later, and it's a completely different wine, even though it's like the exact same wine.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right.
and it's
Let me go.
happened enough times that I've realized wine traveling gets stressed out. It's a living thing, you know, just like us. Wine gets stressed out
Yeah.
too.
Okay. All right. So, in terms of aroma characteristics,
Yes.
okay, let's see. Definitely something floral.
Yeah. I get something pretty. Like this is very pretty
Yeah.
wine.
Um, you could convince me there's violet in this.
Yeah. Agree.
Not so much rose, but yeah, like definitely something like more than a white flower, like
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, the blue flower, I think violet, I think is a good call. That's kind
Yeah.
of what where my nose goes to.
Yeah. No green fruit, no citrus
Yeah.
fruit. for me.
I get a little green fruit here.
Really? Okay, interesting. Like
I
a
get a little bit of
gooseberry or a quince?
yeah, like pins or like a pear kind of a way. There's something here that it's like it's not just there's something here that I can't really put my fingers on, but it may be a combination. It's a floral thing, but to me, it reminds me a little bit like a berry, violet kind of a thing. So maybe
Yeah.
quince, but yeah. But
Yeah, I could see quince now that you said it.
yeah.
I didn't taste it in the palate, but I'd be interested now that I thought about it to see if it's there. Okay.
Sure.
But no citrus for me.
Yeah.
Stone fruit. Not I don't get those so much as like
Yeah.
the red fruits, right? Like
I don't get stone fruit.
yeah,
No
I don't get
tropical either.
fruit. Yeah, and I'm not really getting much tropical fruit.
Yeah.
The
But also actually going back on a citrus, maybe it's the power of association because I call it like a burnt orange on the color of some in the color. But like I get there with like an orange peel on this thing. There's something here. I mean, again, this is kind of the thing that puts everything outside the box. Like it's red grapes as well as white grapes. There are things that you normally find in white wine. You find some of that here as well because it's all of those things that are thrown in here. But to me, I get a little bit like orange peel. Maybe that's what I'm getting instead of quince. But there's something here that is not just the berry. Like there's something about like a tree fruit, orchard tree fruit kind of a thing going on here that I get with like a citrus peel maybe or quince or some sort of aromatic fruit. But
oh, that's
this one,
interesting. So I was thinking that came to me in some of the herbal smells, but
okay, okay.
but you know, I mean, I don't know. I'll be interested if other people are getting orange.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so like the red fruits, like I mean,
Yeah.
cranberry.
Yeah,
I can
cranberry.
sort of that, you know,
A lot of cranberry
that
here.
on a
Yeah.
wine. Last week was so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, cranberry, raspberry, all those, cherry, plum.
Yep.
Yeah, the red, black fruits. You could, I don't know, maybe I could see a blueberry in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, to me, this is definitely more red driven than it is black driven.
Yeah.
To me, it's like a bright red, tart cherry, you know, cranberry. Like a lot of cranberry here, but yeah, red cherry, raspberry, all of that. Yeah, for sure.
not getting a ton of dried or cooked fruit and not a lot of the herbaceous, but for the herbal, I really do. I actually think that like maybe I am maybe it's lavender that I was smelling all that time.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean,
I agree. I think there's some sort of like a lavender thyme, some sort of like a wild like herb.
thyme, like a
Nothing
yeah,
here.
like a lemon thyme, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Is that
Um,
Garrigue thing that we're talking about last week? There's a similar kind of thing going on here. It's like a wild shrub, like these herbs that grow, like the herb de Provence kind of a thing, essentially.
Yeah.
That like thyme, lavender, all of that kind of combined. Like there's something like that going on here. I 100%.
Okay, I'm not getting pungent spices. And then I don't smell earth, but I maybe will taste it. We'll taste it. And then flavors yeast, MLF, or oak. None of those for me. And then tertiary. None of them.
No, yeah, I mean, this is very primarily
Very
fresh,
fun.
non-driven, yeah. I will say though, I mean, for me, on the nose, I get some rockiness here. There's some crushed rocks.
You are? Okay, that's cool.
Not necessarily smoky, but like some sort of like to hit the rocks together. But yeah.
All right, great.
Rock dust kind of-
And then yeah, I might develop. Where am I in the nose? I'm like, it's.
You're good? That's it.
Okay, great.
Good job. Good job.
Back
I know
to-
this is a hard wine to go through because there's just so much of like different things going on here. So try to like articulate each one is a difficult one because there's a lot going on here. All right, back to you, Sherice.
Okay. It's dry. The acid to me is high to either medium plus or right at the edge of high. Because I find it to be very acid driven.
Yeah, I mean, this is what this region is about. Is that high altitude gives it that like stirring that back edge or the acid backbone. So I would call this medium plus as well. It's not as tart as some of the wines that we've had in the past, but yeah, I'll definitely call this a medium plus as well. Tanner?
The tannins to me are soft, so I would go medium minus maybe.
There's definitely some tannin here. 100% agree. Some tannin here, but very soft, just subtle. I would even call this low, but low to medium minus, somewhere in there. But I feel it like mostly right on my front gum line, and they're like right behind my teeth. It's not this like over enveloping kind of a tan that you feel everywhere, but just in the front. Like I mentioned before, that semi-carbonic is the whole kind of reason is to kind of stop extracting all those tannins and different phenolic compounds. It's more about just the purity of the fruit and then expressiveness of the aromatics. So it makes sense why the tannin would be low. So yeah, totally low to medium minus tannin here for sure. Alcohol.
The body is light to me.
Okay.
How
about alcohol?
Alcohol is low.
What's low? Give me the
11,
percentage.
12,
Just the percentage.
11.5 to 12.
11 and a half. What is this? 11%. So yeah, this is probably right in the medium minus territory here.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, this area, this is the beauty. I mean, not everybody's a fan of this wine, but this style of wine, but this kind of a light, fresh, low ABV wine. I mean, to me, that is also not only becoming more fashionable in the wine world, but like to me, this is like my jam. But yeah, that low ABV, but again, it doesn't compromise on concentration. This is very intense, very expressive, very aromatic, but all of that happening and not lacking ripeness, but all of that happening at 11%, which is awesome. All right, body, you were saying.
The body is light to me. I don't find it to be heavy at all or weighty.
So you're calling this light on the scale? Is this lighter than like Alto Adige Pinot Grigio you had? Is this lighter than, I don't know, early young Sancerre?
It would be maybe medium minus, maybe, but it still is light to me, like a Pinot or something, like a young Pinot or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I'm not saying that this is a full-bodied wine, but I don't call this light either. This definitely has more body than that. So yeah, medium minus, to me, this is like a lower end of medium, higher end of medium minus, somewhere in there. It's not definitely a full-bodied wine, light, fresh, but I'll call this medium minus as well. I'll probably lean more towards medium minus than I towards medium. And so
Okay.
again, it's about what you would expect from this region. Low ABV, light, fresh kind of wine. Mousse, you don't have to worry about that. Flavor intensity?
I would say medium plus, because I find the grapes, I mean, they're standing up, I think, really well, even though you don't know what the hell it is. It's definitely intense. The flavoring
Totally.
of it is
Totally.
very
It's
intense.
it's not a shy wine. It's got all the things popping up. Do you agree with the things that Liz called out? Is there anything else that you
I got
or you don't get?
I got an extreme tart cherry
Yeah.
flavor.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the very first thing I tasted, and I got almost like a perfumey. I don't know. I don't want to say potpourri-ish, but kind of a perfumey, bouquet-ish kind of intense
Yeah.
flavoring.
There's something really pretty about this thing, like that violet, the blue flower that Liz was telling you about, but also that, like, to me, there's that like herb de Provence, like lavender, fennel, that kind of a thing going on here. There's something like aromatic, floral, pretty about this wine. On top of that, yeah, I 100% agree with that call. Like tart red cherry, tart cranberry. So when I first tasted this wine was actually for the Witchcraft box, which was also I think for the Thanksgiving pairing, and I thought this would have been fucking great pairing for Thanksgiving table. But it didn't quite make it into that box. But but yeah, like to me, when I first tasted it, and even now, it's cranberry, tart cherry, it's that tart red fruit, which is always a good thing with a Thanksgiving meal. All right, so you get some potpourri, some floral kind of component, which we talked about
Yeah.
as well. Anything else?
I didn't get anything else that she didn't mention.
Yeah.
That I got. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with everything that you guys both called out. Like, I think that kind of floral, there's definitely some floral component here. I think it's super pretty. Again, I just keep going back to some of this, like a green fruit, really like a tart green apple, maybe, but quince, orange peel, something around here. It keeps popping up for me. No stone fruit, no tropical fruit for me. All red berry, all red here. Very tart, very fresh, cranberry, almost like underripe strawberry, tart red cherry. Yeah, all of that really fresh, really ripe.
If you want to go green, you could convince me that there was like not the meat, but the peel of a pear is kind of what I would, if I could pick some, that's what it's reminding me. That's the only thing green that I could think of that brought to my memory.
Yeah, I don't know why, but something about this wine makes me go somewhere there exactly, like a pear, I don't know, green apple, more like pear than green apple, but yeah, it's just something about it that keeps me going back there. In conjunction with that violet, a little bit of this kind of lavender, herb de Provence thing here. Maybe like a turn or two of pepper, not a lot, and very ever so slight, just kind of crushed rock dust kind of a thing. There's nothing like super, just like it, as you saw in that picture, this is not like a sterile stainless steel tank lab made wine. And to me, it tastes like it. Like this wine is not completely squeaky clean, and that's what I like about it. There's something that is not this little rustic, quote unquote, rustic or dirty about it, which is what I like. All right, finish. How long is the flavor? How long do the flavors last?
It's lingering for me a bit. I would say medium-ish, medium plus. It's lingering a bit for me, and I think it's the
Oh.
tartness that's making it linger. So
Oh, yeah.
that's just
This goes on. I'm gonna call this medium plus as well. Yeah. Yeah, it's got some finish. That was actually an interesting finish. It starts off with that kind of really super tart cranberry and cherry, but I got a lot of like really ripe raspberry coming through. Yeah, really like ripe raspberry. The fruit quality gets like a little bit darker and riper. Interesting. All right, take it home for us, Sherice. How good is this wine? Justify it, and would you age that?
I find it to be, I would say, good.
Tell me why.
I mean, the condition of is balanced. It's you don't know what to expect of it, so I can't say it delivers on anything in particular. But it's balanced. Nothing kind of overshadows anything. The only thing I would say is that to me the acid is a little crazy, but other than that, it's well balanced. The fruit is doing what it's supposed to do. It's just hitting all of the things for me.
What did you call on concentration on the nose and the palate?
I think I said medium plus.
Okay, so we're talking medium
think-
plus concentration. Complexity wise, what did you call? What would you call that?
I don't know what to call this in terms of complexity, so I guess it would be complex.
I mean, how many different things did you call out? I mean, given they're all in primary, but
It's all primary, but I called out like 4 or 5 things, so I would say that's pretty complex.
so let's say like, what would you, if you were to put a scale on it? Medium plus?
Medium plus.
Okay, and then the length, what did you call
I'm sorry.
it? Length, what did you call it? The
I
finish.
called it medium plus. So that would be very good. Would that be?
Yeah, I mean, if that's the average, that's what you're calling, then you would call it very good, at least according to the script.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like where I'm landing here. Like it's probably like 2 medium plus it with the 1 medium. To me, the wine is very well balanced here. Sure, that's a completely debatable argument that the acid seems out of balance. To me, it doesn't seem out of balance. I mean, it's stern, it's rigid, but it's not so tart that it's stopping me from experiencing other things. So I'll call that balance. Medium plus intensity on the nose and the palate. We call that. It's very expressive. If anything, this one is, you know, if we disagree on other things, at least we can agree that this one is very expressive. And then 3, complexity wise, this is where I may call it medium. Sure, we call that a bunch of things within primary, bunch of other things, but you know, it's all within primary. There's no secondary, tertiary. It's just a very fresh, young kind of a wine. There's not anything wrong with that, but it's just what it is. So I may call this medium, maybe medium plus, but yeah. And then the length, we call it medium plus as well. So kind of looking through, we're looking at 2 medium balance, 2 medium pluses, and then 1 medium. So we're definitely landing somewhere between good and very good. But to me, it's closer to very good than it is good. So I'm going to call this very good. So when I say like justify it, like that's kind of what I mean. Like you, again, do I personally give a shit about that? No. But since we are using this grid, that is the system that they want you to justify. Like if you took this exam, Sherice, the level 3, they'll have you write out your justification and what would make it outstanding. So you write some things like, you know, had this been more complexity with a possibly more minerality or maybe secondary, tertiary thing, or the length being even longer than it is, then maybe this would have pushed it right into outstanding or solidly and very good. But currently, as it stands, it is somewhere between good and very good, but I would call this very good. It's like something like that. You have to give a justification. Would you age this way?
I would drink it now. It's young, so I would drink it now, but I think you could age it maybe a couple years just to see what happens. I don't know. I'm all about just trying to age wine, but I would drink this now.
Yeah.
But it has a potential for aging.
I 100% agree. I don't think this is, it has the acid, doesn't have a whole lot of tannin, but it does have acid. It does have concentration. It has a fair amount of complexity in the primary. So I think it is a good candidate for aging. I think it does have the potential for aging. The different question being, would it be enjoyable? To me, what is delicious and what is good about this wine, or what makes this special, is that freshness, is that tart liveliness, is that youth. As we age this wine, we're going to lose all this freshness, and a lot of that is going to become raisin or like a non-fruit things. Maybe that'll be better. Complexity will definitely get better for sure, but is that necessarily a better thing for this wine? I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that statement. So I would say drink this now. It's delicious. If you do want to experiment with aging it, maybe come back in 2 years, check on it, maybe even 1 year, 1 or 2 years, just to see the direction it's going. And then you start to see it lose all the freshness, and then the fruit's starting to raisin out. And then, I mean, if you like it, then by all means, age it longer. But to me, it's that fresh tartness is what makes this wine for what it is and delicious. So I would say drink it now. Pop it open. Just pour it down. Is my call. Excellent. Great job, everyone. Excellent, excellent. Any questions? Any disagreements? Can you run through the grapes again? Yes. So there's a mold here. I'll copy and paste it right here. This is not all of them, but this is basically what I was able to find out. So it's in the chat box now. No way, dumb period. I love that. Okay. Can I use that when I travel for work? Yeah, try it. I want to see what we said. A little plum. Tomato leaf, okay. Thyme, yeah. Orange. Hay even. Yeah, there's some sort of like a hay, dried hay thing, Hazel. That's what I meant by earlier. Like there's something kind of rustic and dirty about it. Like this one is not squeaky clean. There's a little bit of like a dry hay kind of thing going on here. I agree. I was thinking maybe is it a hay? Is it like a dried tea, like a tea leaves? But I got something along that sensation of that as well. Cool. Any questions?
Where did we land on tasting rocks? Sorry, I didn't hear it, Sherice. Did you taste rock?
I don't get a whole lot. I maybe just under like a little bit of it, but honestly, it's not a whole lot of it.
Okay.
I mean, I get some rock dust here, but yeah, it's not crazy. What else? All right. Everybody's favorite question. How much do you think this wine is? How much would you be happy paying for this wine on the retail shop? Remember, this comes from unknown place. It's an IGP, but also it's a very, very small production, meaning they don't have any economy of scale. It's basically 2 people working and making this wine. So, but we called it very good. It's an artisanal project. What do you think this lands? $25, $27, $25, $35, $25, $25. Hazel, $37. Okay. Highest bidder. Kelly at $25, $26, $24, $27. Okay. This wine would land at $30 on a retail shelf. So, you know, do I think it's the best value? No. Do I think it's reasonably priced? I think so. I mean, I would have guessed anywhere between 25 and 30 bucks for this wine. I think it's very reasonably priced for what you're getting with us. I mean, we're talking about very good wine that we called from a very small production producer. So it is. How many of you guys like this wine?
I really liked this wine.
Okay,
Me too.
okay. Did anybody not like this one?
The jury is still out for me because it's got my mouth all confused. So I don't know what's happening. So I don't know.
Sometimes those are the best things, Sherice.
Yeah, I'm so confused. So I don't know.
I know. I mean, that's why wines like this excite me. It's like I totally know exactly what you mean. There's no reference point for wines like this. It's just singular,
Right.
exists in its own category. You know what I mean?
So yeah, I don't know. Usually when I come back the next day or something, I can get a better gauge on it. So
Yeah,
And
I'm
how
curious
long
though
this
how this
wine
would-
lasts, actually. I had it when I first sipped it, I was like, this is gonna turn into a mouse tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I'm curious. It does feel a little nervous. It's like right on teetering on the edge. It may mouse tomorrow. So I don't know. You guys keep a bottle, keep it, and then see what happens tomorrow. I only tasted it one time. I didn't get a chance to taste it over days. So yeah, I don't know what to say, but I think you may be right here, Liz. I sense a little bit of nervous tension here. It's like just at the edge. Not like totally hanging on the cliff and ready to fall off, but yeah, I sense some nervousness here. But it is delicious though. I mean, this is the kind of wine I really like to drink these days. Just kind of like really light, fresh, youthful, low ABV. But it's got like enough things going on that it keeps me coming back for another sip. It's like, what is that? Like, what is that? But yeah, I don't know. I just love things like this. So thanks for entertaining me, guys. Letting me feature
I'm
this.
curious to know if anyone tried the roast chicken pairing.
Anyone? I guess not.
Like, I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know.
I tried it
Or-
with some leftover stuffed vine leaves with like meat and, well, not real meat, fake meat and rice and
Yeah.
like cooked in lemon.
Uh-huh.
And it was actually really good.
I bet. That sounds good. Well, you're gonna have to roast some chicken tomorrow. Leave some wine. Try it. Mm. God, I love this wine. I get a little more pepper now. There's a little pepper here. Anyways,
Janet had the best the best analogy, or I don't know how you say it, but context for this wine, that it's like the hot tub, right? Like it's like it's
It's
when you're
hot tub and
but-
winter wine because it's part summer and part winter.
I thought that
Like
was
it.
really good.
I like it. I like it. Hot tub in the winter wine. I like it.
And
Oh,
low
yeah.
ABV, so you can be like losing all your
Yeah,
nutrients. It's perfect.
totally.
So good.
Yeah, it's the end of the year. We're in this weird week, hump day. Drink a bottle. It's only 11%. You know, live a little. Make some bad decisions. It'll be fine. Speaking of which, how was everybody's Christmas? How was everybody's holidays? Did everything go smoothly? Any drama? Were there any noteworthy family fighting that happened? In anticipation